Welcome to the Gold Standard here on the 440 Sports Network, brought to you by Sinkers Beverages. That is the great Emma Lingan. I am merely Braden Gall. Emma, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. I would say you're pretty great as well. Don't sell yourself short there.
Go on. Thanks for being a host of the show. That's all I needed you for. I just needed a little ego boost today.
All right. Well, I'll see you later.
Much like the Nashville Predators, we're off to a red-hot start here. Nashville, of course, winners of 7 of their last 10. You got multiple hat tricks. You got star players scoring goals. Juuse Saros is absolutely on fire. What does it all mean for the future of the Nashville Predators in the Central Division? Are they able to make a run to the playoffs? No, that is not a joke for the last-place team. We will discuss what it would actually take. And then, of course, looking around the Western Conference, Quinn Hughes, a huge trade for the Minnesota Wild. We will get into that. What does it mean for the Central Division? Can Minnesota actually win the division? And then who has staying power in the Western Conference? There's a lot of young teams doing what Predators fans want to do, and we're seeing some results. Chicago already sort of falling off, but Utah, Anaheim, San Jose, do they have staying power? What does the playoff race look like at sort of the Christmas break-ish here on in the Western Conference? Also, Spencer Stastny traded as well to Edmonton. Edmonton doing some work to bolster their team. And so we'll get into all of this stuff today on the show. Sinkers Beverages is fantastic place to shop for Christmas gifts. Not the place you buy like your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, like the main gift. That's not what we're talking about here. Like if you have a main gift for a loved one or a partner, I would recommend someplace else. But it is a perfect place, Sinkers Beverages, to supplement the main gift. It is a fantastic third-line winger is what it is. That's what Sinkers is. Maybe a fourth-line center. I don't know exactly what we're talking about here, but if you need some stocking stuffers, if you need gifts for the office, if you need gifts for just to kind of fill out and round out your Christmas gift or holiday gift giving, they've got barware, they've got THC stuff, they got mocktails, they got cocktail books and recipes. They got an award-winning beer fridge. They got great wine, champagne, liquor selection as well. So sign up for the in-crowd. You'll get access to all their cool stuff. And, of course, make sure you check out, make sure you talk to my guy Grant up there and Joey and Emily. And, you know, they're all awesome. So go talk to them. They'll take care of all your gift needs throughout the course of the holiday season. Are you a big gift giver for Christmas, Emma? Do you give a big main gift to anybody in the fam? Or are you just sort of like Secret Santa, White Elephant, whatever? Like, how do you do it?
I didn't grow up in a big family, so we didn't really do Secret Santa or anything like that. So, but my weird quirk is that I love wrapping presents. Like I love to wrap presents. So it's very selfish on my part. If I get someone that I like or someone that I care about, I will buy them multiple very small things just so I can wrap them all individually.
Sinkers Beverages is a great place to buy the smaller gifts. So I assume we'll see you at Sinkers Beverages. Jeff says, that's right. If Sinkers were on this team, it would be a second line center. Yeah, it's a third line center on most teams, Sinkers, but it's a second line center for the Nashville Predators. Award winning, I might add. Kevin says, so over Quinn Hughes. What a drama queen. We'll get into Quinn Hughes because there are 3 teams, of course, running away from the rest of the Central Division. And I don't think that's going to change now that Minnesota has one of the best players in the world at his position. So we'll get into that. But I'm really just interested in the Western Conference playoff race. I know it's early, but we've talked about this Predators team so much that it's let's take a look at the rest of the division. What can we learn from some of these other teams? All right, let's start with Stastny. We talked about it a little bit on the subscriber pod. Go to Lower Broad Hockey. Please subscribe there. I think a 5th round pick for a third line defenseman. There's 2 ways to look at it. First is a 5th round draft pick who is playing third line minutes at a position where you have depth at the farm system to some degree, or at least depth that's ready to contribute, and on the big club in exchange for a 3rd round pick. Objectively, is an excellent return. As a side, another way to look at this is I'm kind of bummed that Spencer Stastny isn't a part of the future of the team because I think he's very talented and it would have been fun to watch him develop. But I think it was too good of a deal to acquire. And now they have 4 third-round picks in that draft. 2027, correct? Is that right? It's not next year's draft, but 27.
Correct.
So What'd you make of the deal?
I see it from both sides. I agree with you. I think it was a good deal. It's the kind of trade that you have to make when you're Barry Trotz and you're the Predators, because like I think about it in terms of like I also cover baseball, so, like, the Pittsburgh Pirates right now, they have so much pitching depth, and they've been hoarding it for years, and they need bats. So, even though you don't wanna lose any of these good pitchers that you've accumulated over the years, this is the kinda trade you have to make to go out and get a bat because that's what you need. So, the Predators, it's kind of the same thing on the left side of their defense. It's like, of course, you don't wanna lose Stastny. You don't look at him think like, "Ah, take him or leave him." I mean, he was a
Right.
pleasant surprise as a 5th round pick, really good skater, taken a big step forward this year, which we had talked about before on the show. So, I think it's great, um, for him as well to get an opportunity in Edmonton where there's a clearer path, I think, for him to have regular playing time. They're very thin defensively, and so it's a good situation for him as well. It was just a situation where there was a lot of depth in Nashville. There wasn't not necessarily through any fault of his own, but there was just wasn't a clear path for him. The problem, or what I see a lot of people complaining about, well, 2 things. Number 1, people complaining, like you said, that they now have so many picks, 3rd round picks in that 2027 draft, and people would rather get an asset that you can use right now, like someone who's either on an NHL roster or close to it. So that's one concern. I've also seen the concern of, well, why not get rid of Justin Barron? Why'd you have to trade Stastny? Look, if you know that I am no defender of Justin Barron.
Ain't nobody giving you a 3rd round pick for Justin Barron.
No, but see, what I think people are complaining about is that because the justification, the explanation for this was, well, let's, get something for Stastny, because either of these guys, Stastny or Barron or Blankenberg, Willsby, whoever, we'd have to expose them to waivers. So if you trade one of those guys, then that eliminates that problem. So Willsby, they're not trading, that he's part of their future. Barron, no one's gonna want him. Stastny, you can actually get like a positive asset in return for him. So I think it makes sense. Now, I've seen people say, well, just put Barron on waivers. Well, then you're paying a lot of money for Justin Barron to play in Milwaukee. And so this just, as a business decision, was a very sound decision by Barry Trotz. And you know what? I really don't have a problem with him having more draft picks in 2027 because Sting has been the one thing that he has done across the board very well so far.
So Kevin said, Jesse says it's great if Barron isn't the plan to be on the ice. Troop says, is there a Keyser curse story on Stastny, traded story on Blankenberg now on a milk carton? Does that mean you guys are asking me to get Nick Keyser to write a story about Justin Barron? Is that what you guys are asking me to do?
Well, here's the thing,
rude,
too.
very rude trying to curse a player on the team, I feel like.
I also feel like people need to remember that Justin Barron is a right shot defenseman. Yeah. Spencer Stastny is on the left side, and Blankenberg's a right shot defenseman. I mean, you want guys who can play on both sides ideally, but I mean, if you're thinking about, I know you don't want to think about it this way, but Stastny was expendable. He is a left shot defenseman, and you have a lot of them. One of whom is named Tanner Molendyk.
Yeah. So. One observation here is I actually don't care if Justin Barron is paid $1.5 million to play in Milwaukee. Don't care. Ain't my money. Don't care at all. They
you
are
might not care, but Barry Trotz probably cares.
Haslam's got enough. 7-3 since he left the lineup, I believe. So that's all you need to know. The other thing is, and if you're doing like the Along Came Polly, you remember the movie Along Came Polly? Ben Stiller was like a risk assessor, I think, in that movie, and he would like run, like really stupid things through this risk assessment machine with probabilities and analytics or whatever. Great movie, by the way. And it feels like from a risk assessment standpoint, you have to acknowledge that the player you just traded, it's harder to bank on him being a part of your future if he almost retired last year. Like it from a factual, like from a statistical probability standpoint, there is more risk involved in banking on him being one of your top 6 defensemen long-term than somebody else. So, and that's not to say that that actually means anything's going to happen in his life, that he's going to walk away from the game or, whatever. But like from a risk assessment standpoint, statistically, trading a 3rd-round pick for a guy who almost retired last summer is like, that's not a terrible strategy. So, again, not what we're rooting for, not what I think is going to happen. It's none of that. It's just, it's context that's worth including. So I think it's a good move. Unfortunately, I like seeing that player on this team, but I think going to get a 3rd-round pick is smart. And now you have 4 of them, and you could move up to the 2nd round maybe if you wanted to trade 3 of those picks away or something like that. So you can use that asset and that capital to move up. Kevin wants a Brady Shea story. Also rude. You guys rooting for Nick Keyser to curse players on the team is very rude. I'm just going to say.
Also, can we just, first of all,
you got his first goal, I think.
I need to take my little victory lap here. Not even victory lap, because I don't like, staking my career on just dunking on players. But I hated Justin Barron before it was cool. I'm just saying, I was one of the OG last year when everyone was saying, oh, he's a project, he's young, give him time, whatever. Yeah, no, sorry. Now, Brady Shea, I am still willing to be more patient with, and I know that I'm in the minority there, but he's got a larger body of work that allows me to say, you know what, I have a little bit more faith that he can turn this around. But I'm not saying it's good right now.
I'm not sure the Predators don't really have a choice on that one, because that is an immovable contract for
also
all
that.
In all senses of the word, almost completely immovable. So you got to have to find a way to maximize his skill in a partnership somehow on the ice. That's what you got to figure out. Okay. So let's celebrate the team here for a second, because it is there's a lot to enjoy about this. Now I'm going to throw a huge bucket of cold water all over everybody in a minute. And when we talk about the Central Division and the playoffs and Quinn Hughes and Minnesota, etc. But enjoy it while you got it. This team was 6-12-4 just a couple of weeks ago after the 8-3 loss to Florida, where we came on and we were like, that's among the worst defeats we have ever seen. The players responded horribly after Barry Trotz specifically called them out that weekend. They showed him by giving up a goal like less than, 11 seconds into the game or something like that, and got boat raced at home in front of their crowd 8-3. Since that game, they are 7-3. They are averaging 4 goals a game. They're giving up 3 a game, so it's not ideal defense. They have scored 7 power play goals in 34 chances. That's 21% on the power play. Their PDO is 104, which does portend a little bit of a drop in luck to some degree. And Adam and I talked a lot about this run being not luck driven, but they're scoring more than they're expected to score, and they're giving up less than they're expected to give up, which tells you there's some return to the mean coming. But you have a 4-goal game from Steven Stamkos, which is only the fourth player in franchise history to do that. Grimaldi, Nystrom, Filip Forsberg. Forsberg goes for his hat trick, his 11th of his career on Monday night against the Blues. Steven Stamkos, by the way, is like 2 hat tricks away from being number 2 on that list. You only need 4 total to get to number 2 on the list, which is where Steve Sullivan's at. Juuse Saros has been extraordinary during this stretch. 6-1 with a .916 save percentage, giving up about 2.5 goals per game. He has stole, I think, 3 games so far. The team has exploded offensively. Just for the sake of the conversation, I don't know if it's sustainable. I don't know if it means they can continue to do this. The advanced metrics, Emma, tell you that this is a little bit short-lived, and we'll get into the schedule and the quality of the opponents in just a moment. But at the end of the day, you're scoring a ton of goals. The goaltender's playing well. You're winning games. Your stars are starting to support they're starting to carry the team on offense, Stamkos and Forsberg. This is, you got to enjoy some fun hockey while you got it. I don't think it's going to last forever, so enjoy it, I feel like.
Sure, it's fun. It's fun. It's what you want to see, and it's not anything outlandish. It's not like they're going out and beating Colorado 10-3, but it's like you're seeing kind of what you would expect a little bit when you look at this roster on paper. I really do think I don't want to immediately poo-poo on everyone's parade right now, but I do think that the quality of the opponents is worth mentioning.
We're not to the cold bucket portion of the conversation yet.
Okay, but just considering that the two of the specific events that you mentioned, the 4-goal game from Stamkos and the hat trick from Forsberg, both happened against the same opponent, who are the very bad St. Louis Blues. So just throwing that out there. So again, I don't mean that to take away from anything that this team has done. I agree. I'm always going to stump for Juuse Saros. I think he's been fantastic, and I think he's kept them in a lot of these games, and it's great. It's good to see. It's nice to see some of the veterans clicking on offense. You're also starting to see some of the younger guys click on offense as well. It's fine. I'm not overly excited about it. I don't think it necessarily means anything big picture, but I agree with you. You take the small victories while you can.
So, of the 13 wins that this Nashville Predators team has had this season, do you know how many of them are currently in the playoffs? Do you have a guess?
Of the teams that they've beaten?
They've won 13 games.
Okay.
How many of those 13 wins came over a team in the playoffs?
Not a lot.
To Josh's point, enjoy the fun now. We may not have a chance later. They have beaten St. Louis twice, second to last place team. They've beaten Calgary twice, one of the only teams in the NHL that have the same number of points as the Predators. They have beaten Columbus in the season opener, dead last in their division. They beat Ottawa, 34 points, second to last in their division. They beat Vancouver, who is now giving up on hockey and is the only team in the league that has fewer points than the Nashville Predators. They have beaten the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Florida Panthers, and the Los Angeles Kings, all of whom have less than 30. They have 37 points or less and are not currently in the playoffs. They beat Detroit in that really fun game a couple of weeks ago. That's a first place team. And they beat Colorado last week or whatever it was. They have 2 wins over teams in the playoffs out of 13.
I was going to guess 3, so I was close.
Yeah.
I was a little too generous. But that sounds about right.
And they beat Chicago, who got 32 points and is basically even with the Preds in the standings, roughly speaking, just ahead of them. Look, the advanced metrics and the schedule tell you this is not sustainable. And if the Nashville Predators want to believe, I heard Ryan O'Reilly in the pregame interview with Willie going like, "Oh, we just got to keep stacking wins, and we got a chance to turn this thing around." They are 7 points out of the playoff spots, out of the playoffs currently. To get to last year's total, like last year, the last 2 wild cards had 97 and 96 points respectively. The year before that, when the Preds made the playoffs, they had 99 points. And 98, I believe, was Las Vegas, the second wild card team. There are 50 games left on the schedule. If they go 30, 10, and 10, which is 3-1-1 in every 5-game stretch, if they win 30 games the rest of the way, remember, they have 2 wins over playoff teams currently in the league. If they go 30, 10, and 10, they will get to 100 points on the season, which means they can lose 10 times. It is not Christmas, Emma. They can only lose roughly 10 more times the rest of the season for them to make the playoffs. So while it is fun, while it is good to enjoy the fun while you got it, enjoy kicking your feet up and beating the tar out of a division rival multiple times in a weekend. It's great. Enjoy 7 goals from 2 future Hall of Famers. It's great. Juuse Saros doing great things. All fun stuff. The advanced metrics and the schedule tell you this is not sustainable, and the only way it's even close to being a playoff run is if this team does something like it did 2 years ago, which is 18 consecutive without losing. And statistically, that ain't happening. And so those of you who are worried that Barry Trotz and the organization or anybody else is going to somehow change their strategy and believe that this team is making a run, I am here to tell you I don't think that's happening. I'm not trying to ruin your time, but I don't think that's happening to Kubiak. So you're telling me there's a chance. I like it. So what's Trotz waiting for to make moves, says Jesse. I think he's waiting for the exact right possible offer. When Stastny was given a great offer, they took it. I don't think they're trading O'Reilly. I think I've come around on that one. You and others have convinced me of the value of having him around until next deadline. I still think all the guys on expiring contracts are going to get moved, or they're going to attempt to, whether that's McCarron, Bunting, Haula, etc. We can all hope that it's Justin Barron, and now this has turned into he's the Luke Schenn of the team now. It's like, Luke Schenn was pretty good.
Justin Barron was always my Luke Schenn. Just, again, got to circle back on that. But
hashtag not my Luke Schenn.
Yeah, no, I think that I agree with you, conceptually speaking, but I do think that there's some nuance to this. I think that all of the guys on expiring contracts should get moved, and I think that Barry Trotz is absolutely going to take calls on those players. However, I do have a little bit of PTSD from the U2 concert year. I have a feeling that if they are within shouting distance of a playoff spot at whatever time, which like right now, technically they are, what'd you say? Like 7 games? I mean,
they're 7 points. They are in last place, but they are 7 points out of the playoffs. Because
right now, because it's December, so like whatever, but take that with a grain of salt. I just think that there is a chance that if they are within shouting distance of a spot and they're playing well enough, I can see Barry Trotz overvaluing those guys who are on those expiring deals. So I don't even think he's actively going out shopping them. I don't think he's dangling Michael Bunting out like, all right, who wants him? Like, I think he is waiting. I think he's waiting for the market to come to him, which.
And why not? That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's no rush to do it or take
exactly. You don't need to be aggressive unless you are trying to win right now. And I think Barry has finally come around on the idea that they are not winning right now. So I don't think he needs to be aggressive and go to the market. I think he can let the market come to him. But when the market does come, and granted, for these kinds of players, it's not going to come until closer to the deadline, he has to be receptive to it. And I think that, you take what you get for those guys. Now, again, on a Ryan O'Reilly, when he's still got some time left, a little bit more value, that's different. But if it's like Michael McCarron and someone's offering you a draft pick, I know you really like him, Barry. We like him too, but like,
nice guy.
That's a move you got to make. That's nice a deal you got to make.
Plays his position well, etc., etc.
Nice guy, tries hard, loves the game. You got to get rid of him.
Nice guy,
like,
tries hard.
If someone's gonna offer you something, that's what you do.
Older and Wiser 77 says, I don't think it's over for the Preds. If they are now playing to their true potential and they can continue this way, they'll be in the playoffs. Here's the problem. If they go 7-3 in every 10 games, you can do the math on that. That's 28 wins and a lot more losses than 10. I don't know if that gets you into the playoffs, even as good as they've played the last 10 games. And guess what? They're not going to play Calgary and St. Louis twice every week. Like, it's not going to happen. And
they're
Vancouver,
not going to play either of those teams again. Well, St. Louis they will, but they're not going to play Calgary again.
Right.
And so I think, yes, that's important to note. And a lot of this too hinges on the idea that the Predators are not in control of their own destiny at all when it comes to playoffs and stuff. So even if they do, they win 30 games or whatever it is, whatever the number is, that doesn't change the fact that they are in a division with Colorado and Dallas and now Minnesota, who's really going for it. And then you've got Utah, who's taken a step forward. Chicago is taking a step forward. I'm not saying those teams are going to be threats to them right now, but moving forward, they're going to be. So a lot of this, there's a lot more that goes into this.
Josh says it takes 2 to make a deal. If you aren't making a trade this early unless they're meeting your high asking price. I agree. Jesse, I would take Schenn over Barron any day. I think we all agree there. This is, I think, the ultimate complaint about this, which is that they're playing better and are probably not bad enough to be the worst team. But Houston says, P. Houston says, we are just going to end up in the mushy middle again, which I think I understand. I understand that sentiment. I get it. Kevin says maybe they should book a team outing to Third and Lindsley, watch the time jumpers, and cancel that. I don't think that's enough of a message. I think it has to be like, we all are going to go to the Nate Bargatze show at Bridgestone, and we're going to cancel it. Like, maybe that would do it. I don't know. Maybe like a Beyonce concert. Like, there needs to be something more than the time jumpers, with all due respect to a wonderful show at Third and Lindsley. So if they go, I mean, I guess if you go 7-3 every 10 games, which is obviously not going to happen because of the overtime element of all of this, but that's 35-15 over the last 50 games. That is 100 points. Is this their potential? Again, metrics will say no. Schedule says no. Those are two big ones that say no. And honestly, like right now, this is as healthy as they like. Who am I missing that they're missing? Am I missing somebody from a injury standpoint? Who am I? I don't think it. This is like the starting lineup is the
Baron.
No,
no. I mean,
the starting
Cole
20.
Smith.
Cole Smith. Okay, that's true. Cole Smith is one.
Yeah,
but this is basically the starting top three lines, starting defense pairing, starting goaltender. Everybody's healthy right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Like your big guns, like Juuse, Forsberg, Stamkos, those guys are all healthy. They're all contributing probably to the best of their ability right now. Yeah. So this is who they are.
So here's the deal. I want to get to the Quinn Hughes Western Conference Central Division of it all here to kind of take this playoff conversation and kind of spin it forward into what's happening around the league. So first, let's start with Quinn Hughes in Minnesota, and that is just how good can this team be with him? The three of them are already running away, meaning Dallas, Colorado. They are 10 points clear of the fourth place team in the division at time of taping. Minnesota is the third place team, but they just got significantly better. Now, they gave up a king's ransom to get there. They gave up Marco Rossi. Zeev Bynum's a really good prospect. Ogren, I don't know much about him, and a 2026 first-round pick. They gave up a fortune for a 26-year-old defenseman who is among the best three players in the world at his position. So Minnesota now has some high-end talent to work with. And I don't know what you make of the Central Division, but it feels like those – I don't know if it matters who wins the division, but I think the three of them are going to run away and hide. What does matter is as to a Predators fan, to the NHL fan, I don't think it matters, but you definitely need to be the first place team because you sure as hell don't want to be stuck in the 2-3 matchup. And I think Minnesota could get to that 1 seed now with Quinn Hughes. What do you make of the deal, how big the trade package was, and what does it mean for the Central Division moving forward?
Well, for the Central Division moving forward, it means now you've got Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes to deal with. So it's absolutely, it just has made this division harder. As far as the deal itself, quite honestly, I give a lot of credit to both parties involved for pulling the trigger this early, because like on Vancouver's part, you know that you're not going to get him. You know that he's not going to sign with you long term. There is no need to hold on to him any longer, because the longer you hold on to him, the more his value depreciates. And so I think that it's gutsy to make that move. And then for Minnesota, especially after, their big offseason move was signing Kaprizov to that long-term extension. And now they're under that pressure to show, see, we really are trying to go for it. We really are trying to win, trying to go all in here. And obviously there are other teams that were very interested in Quinn Hughes and very active in pursuing him, but they just didn't have the assets to make it happen, or they didn't want to part with the assets to make it happen. I mean, Hughes himself in his press conference, I feel like maybe I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it or reading too much into it, but it seemed like he kind of took a shot at the Devils in his press conference. Obviously, everyone knows the Devils were like front runners, and they still could. Look, he'll be a UFA if Minnesota doesn't sign him to an extension for after next year. So he could still end up with the Devils. But at least this time, it was like he said something to the effect of like, of course, I'd love to play with my brothers. That would be awesome. But basically said something to the effect of like, Minnesota sacked up and made the deal. And not a lot of teams would do that. So I give Minnesota credit for that as well. Now, to your point, They lost a very valuable center in Marco Rossi, which again, really good move for Vancouver. They need a center because behind Elias Pettersson, they've got no one. And then you've got Zeev Buium, who is a very high upside, could be a Quinn Hughes light in like 2 years. So that's a really good move for them. Ogren, depth piece, has had, long NHL. He's had NHL experience, good depth piece to have. And then a first round pick. So again, really solid bit of business, I think, by both teams. But now the pressure's on Minnesota.
Yep.
Because if Minnesota wants to beef up this roster anymore, around the trade deadline or whatever it is, because if this is their way of saying, oh, we really want to make a run for it in the Central, I don't really know how you're going to do that because you've just given up all of your assets, like any kind of trade chip you had, you just gave it all up. And then, not saying that Hughes wasn't worth it, but that's just kind of where you're at right now. And then you've also got very little cap space to work with because of the Kaprizov extension. So they are really going for it. It's gutsy, but it does really limit their wiggle room when it comes closer to the deadline and any kind of other moves they want to make to try and get up into that same tier as Dallas and Colorado.
I feel like you study these teams more than I do. Do you feel like this is a play to sort of take the spot of Dallas or something like that? Like maybe longer term, like Colorado has a lot of really talented pieces. So I'm just, Dallas maybe is the one that's a little bit older as they sort of churn. I mean, they've got a lot of young stars too, but like they're going to be churning some of their older pieces. Their captain's got to be somewhere else at some point in the near future. I'm just curious if they view it less as like, I'm going for it this year versus we want to be the new power in the Central Division because we have some really talented young stars on offense. And we're looking at Colorado and Dallas have had their time, right? Like these two teams have been at the top of the division for the last 6-7 years. Sorry. And I think what's fascinating is I think it's more of we want to be there when somebody trips. We want to be there when somebody takes a step back or has to rebuild on because of salary cap or aging veterans or whatever it might be. Hughes is 26, and if they have him long term, I mean, they are set up now to be a potential power in the division, not just making the playoffs this year or routinely, but to maybe take one of their spots. Is that a fair way to look at it?
Yeah, I mean, when you're getting Hughes now, and when he's still got another year after this left on his contract, and then and now because you've gotten him now, you as Minnesota are now the only team that can entertain the idea of signing him to an 8-year extension before that option goes away. So you still have that. And then you've also got Kaprizov locked in long term. So I think this is your way of saying, you want to be part of the conversation, and that, because how many times have we said it? I mean, that's kind of how the conversation goes. It's like, well, you got Dallas and Colorado, and then you got everyone else. I mean, last year you had Winnipeg. That was fun, but now they're kind of coming back down to earth. So it's like, I think it was kind of their way of saying, we're not just going to resign ourselves to this is the reality. It's Dallas, Colorado, and everyone else. And,
Bingo.
They want to actually show that they're trying. Which I give them credit for. In terms of the Dallas, we want to be the new Dallas kind of thing. I don't know that it's really that. I mean,
it's more about being situated to take over when someone else steps back.
Sure, and I will say with Hughes specifically, and with what that move does. I mean, you've already got Brock Faber as well. In Minnesota. And then, of course, Colorado, they've got Taves, they've got Makar. Dallas defensively, kind of flimsy. Once you get past Heiskanen, they really don't have the strongest defense. I mean, Heiskanen and Harley, I will say, like Harley's taken a big step forward, but I think that in terms of their defensive depth beyond those guys, I don't really know. Now, to that end, though, the other side of that coin is that Buium was supposed to be a big piece of that in Minnesota. He's now gone. So again, I don't think we're going to see the full effects of this probably for the next year or two. So I agree with you. I don't think that this was Minnesota saying, we're trying to win this year. I mean, I'm sure they would like that, but
Sure.
I think it's more about like in the next couple of years, because that's when we're really going to see the full effects of this play out.
Nashville has played Dallas twice, Colorado 3 times, Minnesota once. So they've got about half those games out of the way. They're going to play Minnesota 3 more times, unfortunately, the rest of the season. And I think they have Colorado once and Dallas once. So they still have 5 more. That's 5 of the 10 losses they're allowed to have, right there with those top 3 teams. But again, if you look at the standings, they're 10 points clear of Utah, Winnipeg, Chicago, etc. Like these 3 are going to run away, I would assume, and hide. They are right now. Currently, I was looking this up. Colorado is the favorite to win the Western Conference, to make it to the Stanley Cup final, plus 175, and it's not close. Like, you got to go to Vegas at plus 450, Edmonton plus 550, although their recent acquisitions should help, you would think, help that. Dallas at plus 550, and then Minnesota all the way down to plus 1,300. So it really it's Colorado, and then Vegas, Edmonton, Dallas, and then Minnesota's right there. So that's to the point of changing the conversation. You know, this maybe changes the dynamics in the Central Division over the course of the next few years. I don't know what you make of the playoff picture. Is there any any intrigue in terms of the Western Conference race that has you? I mean, I think we're all sort of like looking at Edmonton, like, when's it going to happen, kind of thing.
I don't know.
For
so when
McDavid.
you honestly, I don't know. Again, my face tends to do a lot of the talking, so I think that my face may have done some talking when you said something about Edmonton's recent acquisitions should help their case. I don't know. Maybe.
It's the first moves of what should be more than there should be more coming, I assume, for Edmonton.
In theory, yes, but what are they going to do? Like, what else are they don't have any more assets, and they don't have any cap space. Like, that's kind of the problem. So it's like, in theory, you would think, yes, this is that you would want to see more moves, but like, for a team in Edmonton's position, I don't know that they can make any more moves, to be honest, like any more impactful moves. They just don't have the weapons to do it. And so, I mean, in terms of the goalie conversation, I think it was Dom from The Athletic put it the best way I could have seen it, which was that they traded Stuart Skinner for Stuart Skinner East, which in Tristan Jarry, which is basically, it's accurate. Wildly inconsistent performances from both of those guys. When they're on, they are on. They are absolutely unstoppable, but they are so streaky, and they can make or break a playoff series for you. I mean, Tristan Jarry cost the Penguins the first round series against the Islanders. I want to say it was like 2022, something like that.
Those years all get.
Yeah.
Like, all the John Hines years are like totally a blur for me.
But it was like
which one, I don't know.
That was very clear. Like, that was a goaltending issue. But then, like, Jarry has had other times in his career where he's been unstoppable. He's also an injury machine. Like, he's always got injury problems. And so, I don't know that. I think that, quite frankly, Pittsburgh wins that trade by a landslide, because they get Kulak and Skinner, who are both UFAs, after this year, so they can flip both of those guys and trade them before the end of the year and get something for them. They also have a ton of depth in gold. Now, Penguins have their own problems that they're dealing with, like the fact that they cannot win a game in overtime. But honestly, that's where I think they miss Jarry. But again, I don't know.
Edmonton's probably going to win the division, though. That's the thing. Like, it's wide open for them to win it. Vegas is a good team. They're a challenger. And again, here's an interesting note. I read off the top.
Edmonton's going to win the division over Vegas?
So the Kings are plus 1,400. Utah is plus 2,000 to win the Western Conference. Winnipeg is plus 2,000. You have to go to team 9 and 10 to get to the first place Ducks from a gambling standpoint. They are not one of the top 8 or 9 teams, according to Vegas, to win the Western Conference. They are in first place, meaning I'm looking at Utah, Anaheim, and San Jose in a playoff race right now, and I don't see staying power, not because they're not going to be good, but because you got to learn to be good. And generally speaking, all that young talent, as it's learning to be good, has moments of being in first place or being above the playoff line. And then a lot of times you'll see those teams come back down to earth, just miss the playoffs this year, and then next year they're all in the playoffs. And so I think there is space for Edmonton to move up in the division. Vegas to move up in the division. I think there's space for teams behind some of those teams in the wild card chase to move up. I don't know. Like, the problem is that Vancouver, Seattle, Calgary, they're not going to do it. I don't think it's Chicago. I think if Hellebuyck comes back and is healthy, you could see Winnipeg go on a run in the second half of the season. I don't think it's Nashville, obviously. Maybe Utah has some staying power because they've been doing this longer than the Ducks in San Jose. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Utah's been pretty injured, though. I think that hurts them. No pun intended. It hurts them. I think of the teams that you mentioned, the one that I agree with you. I think there's concerns with all of them in terms of their staying power. The one that I right now would have the most faith in, I think, is Anaheim. But again, I see the argument and fully could see them falling out of the playoffs altogether, or at least falling out of first place.
And to some degree, Chicago's in this boat too. They just already had their spurt and have already kind of fallen back down to earth. That is one of the only things that makes the case for the Predators to stay involved in this, is that if you start looking around, you're like, Vancouver, no. Calgary, no. Seattle, no. St. Louis, dominated by Nashville. Chicago, I don't think they've got the staying power. Like, you can check off teams real fast and get to it's the underbelly. The underbelly is fairly weak, it feels like, in the Western Conference.
Oh, for sure. Because the East, I mean, it's been this way for years now, and it's the same way right now. The East, like, every Eastern Conference team is in the playoff race right now. Like, they're all in it because it's so tightly compacted. Buffalo technically could take a run and make it into the playoff. I mean, it would be a stretch, but they could do it. I think it's very tightly compacted in the East. It is not that in the West. And to the earlier point about Minnesota and what kind of message they're trying to send here, I think it's just that. It's like, okay, we are not accepting our fate as one of the have-nots in the West. We are going to try to stay relevant in this conversation. So it is definitely, it's specific to the Western Conference. This whole issue is, for sure.
Again, Kings, Edmonton, Vegas, Minnesota, Dallas, Colorado. There's only 3 more spots. There's only 2 more spots after that. And Winnipeg has proven it knows how to get there. Doesn't know how to do, it doesn't prove anything when it's there. But Winnipeg has proven it knows how to get there. Everyone else is either not good or, I mean, I guess St. Louis has been in the postseason race a few times. They went on a huge tear at the end, in the second half of last year. So I guess maybe St. Louis has some experience with this, but other than that, you're looking at a bunch of teams that are either bad or have no experience in that situation. So there is an opening there for the Preds to sort of feast on a bunch of bad teams like they've already done, or any of these teams to do that. Utah could do it. I mean, San Jose could do it. I mean, Anaheim, to your point, is in the best situation right now, but Anaheim's way ahead of schedule. Like, the first place in the division is way ahead of schedule on their rebuild. So I have a feeling that's not where they finish.
I don't think they finish first, but I could see them, they look good. They have really taken a step forward. I think the coaching, I think the roster, their young pieces are starting to come of age now. I think that you're starting to see it click for them. So even if it's not this year, you can see what's happening. San Jose, I still think a little bit farther behind than Anaheim. I think that they'll get there. They've got some really exciting offensive weapons. I think they have some work to do on defense, but and I think that they'll get there too. But in terms of the staying power, I think Anaheim is closer to that right now. Even like you said, if this is the argument for Nashville to try to stay in it, try to stay competitive, fine. But once you get, like, even by that argument, you're making it into the playoffs kind of just by, like, de facto, well, you're the best bad team in the West. So
Right.
Here you go. And once you get to the playoffs against actual competition, you're going to get exposed really, really fast.
Nashville is plus 700 to make the playoffs, minus 1,100 to miss the playoffs. If you want to bet on Nashville to miss the playoffs, you have to put $1,100 down to win 100. Just want to put that out there. So again, I think we've made a case pretty clear that the top of this conference is going to continue to separate itself. There is space for someone to make a run at a wild card spot, but that the metrics say that Nashville is overachieving too much right now. They put themselves in too much of a hole, and at the end of the day, the talent's just not there. and the schedule they haven't done it against good teams. So there's a lot that says, they're probably going to finish a spot or two higher in the standings, and they probably finish where they did last year, which is picking 5th in the draft. And I know some people don't want to hear that. I'm actually fine with 2 top 5 picks in a row. I think that would be like, if you're talking about rebuilding and needing talent, if you add another top 5 player to this farm system with all the draft picks they already have, I think you can jumpstart the rebuild. You can jumpstart it pretty quickly, I think.
I agree. I think you're preaching to the choir. I think a lot of fans would not agree, but
yeah.
That's
I just want to. I think you just need to shift your expectation to top 5 pick. If you get a top 5 pick, I think, and young players developed, I think that there's reason to be like, all right, the trajectory. I could start to see the path forward. Anything better than top 5, and it's house money, I think, at that point. But you know what? Scoring a bunch of goals and winning games. Saros playing well, Stamkos, Forsberg, that should be fun for people. Last one on this conversation is, I can't help but ask this because it's different, certainly, 35 years of age versus 26 years of age. But you got to start asking, looking at that haul that Vancouver got, you're obviously not going to get anywhere close to that. So, again, I'm not saying that you would. But you know how else you could jumpstart a rebuild real fast? Is trade your Norris Trophy-winning 35-year-old defenseman who still has some years on his contract left. And nobody wants to hear that. Nobody in the organization probably wants to do it. Fans don't want to get rid of Roman Josi. My wife certainly doesn't want Roman Josi to go anywhere. But
and most importantly, Roman Josi doesn't want to go anywhere. And if he doesn't want to go anywhere, he's not going because he has movement protection in his contract.
They all have, like, everybody who has that, I always look at it and go, Stanley Cup ring is staring him or Stanley Cup, hoisting a Stanley Cup, staring Roman Josi in the face. He might change his opinion. So
I think that there is so much to it. I hear what you're saying. I do. I'm not saying that it would be a no, like that it would be an easy decision, but I'm saying that
you'd get a lot in return.
I don't think the rest of the league values Josi the same way that Nashville does. I'm not saying that's right.
I agree. I agree.
But if you look at what you just said, he's old, he's injured, he's got these, health issues, which again, these are all things we know how good he is. We know how good he can be because we've watched it for years. But I think that the rest of the league, when they're trying to play hardball, they're going to point to all of those things. That's why we don't want to pay a king's ransom for him. I don't think he's going to get a king's ransom. And again, movement protection, I understand it can be waived, but it depends on the player. And from everything I know about Roman, I just do not see him wanting to chase a Stanley Cup if that means leaving Nashville. I just don't see it.
He is an interesting cat. He is wired very differently than everybody else. There's no question about that. He values his time at home. He wants to just be at home with his family and his kids. He wants to read books and do yoga. Like, he is just not, he's not one of the guys that wants to go out and do all this stuff or chase stuff. And I understand that. I just think at the end of a spectacular Hall of Fame career, if somebody that was very clearly one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the league came to Nashville and Roman said, you know what, I don't mind one or 2 years. I'm going to retire at the end of my contract. 1.5 seasons of 2 chances at a playoff run with one of the best teams in the league would be very appealing. And while you're not going to get the same haul of Rossi, Byam, Ogren, and the first-round pick, you might get half that. I don't think you get the Rossi part of it. I don't think you're going to get an established center like that. But you might get a close to starting prospect like Zeev, Byam, and you might get a first-round pick. And I think that's a real fast way, though, to jumpstart a rebuild that's already underway. I don't know. I don't like the idea, but.
You're not wrong, but I just don't even think it's worth pulling at that thread because I just don't see it happening.
Okay.
You're not wrong in your logic, though.
That's all I'm going for here. I just want correct
logic. It makes logical sense. I'm just saying in correct practice, logic. It's not going to happen.
I don't know the answer to the first question, and I'm going to ask you the second question. The first question is, I would love to know what percentage of the ownership group Nick Saban purchased, and who that came from, because I have a feeling I know. But Sinkers Beverages, before I ask those questions, Sinkers Beverages, great place to finish your holiday shopping. We are what, 8 days away from Christmas, and I am almost all the way done with shopping. This is the earliest it's ever been done. I don't want to talk about how much work I have to do Christmas Eve for the first time in like 5 years. That part's really pissing me off. But, that Christmas morning is still pretty magical at my house. So we're going to keep it that way as long as we can. But all the shopping is done outside of my wife and I's gifts for each other, which is coming in the form of like a home renovation. Everything is bought and paid for. So all I need is like some stocking stuffers, some stuff for some of the wonderful folks at 440. I'm going to swing by Sinkers Beverages probably sometime this weekend. And you got these little tiny, I actually gave a former producer of mine who now is on a music station locally here, for his birthday. I gave him like little cans of all these ready to drink cocktails. They're little adorable little cans of all these like different types of stuff. I gave him like 12 different cocktails, nice bottle of bourbon. Like, it's a great place to go get small gifts for people that you care about. And so they got barware, they got non-alc stuff, they got THC stuff, they got great craft beers. They got outstanding bourbon selection, huge wine selection, lots of expertise to help you pick out what the person in your life might want. So Sinkers Beverages, there's a reason they've won the Liquor Store of the Year award by you, the shoppers of Nashville, 5 years in a row. So there you go. Nashville Anna, welcome to the show as we are wrapping up here. Nashville Anna, good to see you. Nick Saban and Joe Agresti, right, is the Dream Motorworks, Dream Car Company or whatever, which is like super fancy cars, high-end luxury vehicles in Nashville. Nick Saban is now a part owner of the Nashville Predators. And I don't think it means anything to the Predators specifically, but he's a great name to have on it. He knows that there's money to be made in Nashville. That's why he launched a car dealership here years and years and years ago, as he is transitioning from coach to sort of mogul media / entrepreneur mogul. I am curious what it means for Nick Saban in Nashville. That's what I'm curious about, because I feel like he's weaving himself into the Nashville community a little bit more and more, and I'm just curious what that means long term for him. What that means for him and his future. And I don't have an answer for you, but I'm curious. I would love to know what percentage and who he bought them from, because I have a guess, as I said. But I'd like to know what his plan.
I would also very much like to know who he bought it from. But I think it's interesting.
Have a good idea.
A lot of this, it makes sense. Like, of course, hindsight 2020. But when he came, was it this year or last year? I don't know. Time.
Yeah. Flat circle.
It's a flat circle. But I think that it's now, at some point during training camp, he came and talked to the team. I think it was this past year. So
it was this training camp. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, yeah. I was like, okay, that makes sense. So there's that. As far as his like integration in Nashville, first of all, I have seen so many people just like waxing poetic about what this could mean for the organization. Honestly, it means nothing. It means nothing. Nick Saban is not going to. Yeah, I'm sorry. No,
we're not. Don't be curious, because this is like Jay-Z having an influence over the Nets, I think, or like even then, there's like some social influence, but there's not like Jay-Z's not picking players. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like the Packers being publicly traded. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm saying.
Got my share of stock right up there.
Braden, but did they call you and ask you for your
input?
I
am not the winningest coach in the history of one sport. I mean, like, Hova is, like there's lots of people that have tiny little sliver. Doesn't Tom Brady own some of the Raiders? And like the biggest problem with that is like when he does broadcasts, like it's a problem, not even a positive.
Yeah. This means nothing in terms of like any changes that fans are going to see. Like, it's nothing. Saban is gonna collect his little dividend check from whatever they make and move along with his day, and that's all it is. But I do think it's funny though for how, I mean, I say just as an objective observer, because I am not an SEC fan, so I'm not like anti-SEC. I'm just saying that I don't have like a rooting interest in the SEC.
You're an ACC girl. It's okay.
I am, yes.
For now, as long as the ACC exists, yeah.
The few, the proud, yes. But I think that moving here and, since I've lived here, I've seen like what a big influence the SEC has on the city and rooting interests and things of that nature. And so people's opinions and thoughts about Saban, getting more ingrained in Nashville, I think here of all places, I think it's just very interesting to see because it's how are you gonna play that to the Vols faithful? I don't know.
I don't think you said, look, famously Michael Jordan said Republicans buy shoes too. Rich Vols fans buy Mercedes and Ferraris as well. They're all Predators fans. This is exclusively business for him. But I'm curious. Yeah. What I want to know is like, is there, because it makes perfect sense. You were in Tuscaloosa, it's just down the road. Nashville is probably one of the biggest metro areas in the area. You've already kind of dipped your toe into the Nashville, Belichick, and he's got a house here. Like there is a reason that Nashville ends up a place where people like Saban end up. And I am just curious how does he continue to integrate Saban into the Nashville whatever? And it's like, are we going to have a Saban bar downtown? Like, is that what's coming? Like there's next to next in that new Bridgestone rooftop that's going to be the largest in the city. Is there going to be coaches? Like a sports bar named Coaches?
This wasn't even Nick Saban. This is Nick Saban's financial advisor did this for him. And he probably didn't even know he was a part owner of the Predators until the press release came out.
Again, so, like where it's just mysterious that like tiny little 1-2% of ownership just kind of came available in the last couple of weeks. In the last couple of weeks, I can't believe that just was an opportunity that presented itself. Interesting to me. God, I want to know who sold those shares. I'm working on it. Okay, well, it's a thing that happened. That's about all.
A thing that happened.
That's all we can really say about it.
Follow us for more insight.
This is the kind of analysis you only get from the gold standard.
Uh-huh.
Preds have new ownership. It's the greatest coach of all time. That's a thing that happened.
You're welcome, Nashville.
Doesn't know a damn thing about hockey, but here he is. He's in town now. All right. Where can people find you and all your work and all the great stuff that you do, say, and write?
You can find me here every week on the Gold Standard. You can find me on social media at Emma_Lingan. You can also find me talking about the rest of the NHL over at the Hockey News and a little bit of Preds over at Hockey Hot Stove.
There you go. Special thanks to Sinkers Beverages and to all of you in the comment section for being a part of this show. We do appreciate you guys. Subscribe to Lower Broad Hockey, share the show, notifications turned on, tons of content on the 440 Sports YouTube page right now, and that involves a lot of college football around the playoff that gets started this weekend. We got a lot of Titan stuff. We got draft stuff. We got Nashville SC and their offseason free agency period. And of course, all of your Nashville Predators content as well. Otherwise, have a great weekend, everybody. We'll do a show next week, but we're not exactly sure when, probably earlier in the week. And so we'll see what happens there, but stay tuned for that. Again, that's why you turn on the notifications on YouTube so that you get a notification every time we go live. Thanks to all of you for hanging out. 5 stars only on the podcast app of choice. If you do not give us 5 stars, you are a hater. For Emma, I'm Braden. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.